Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary, and after spending a few weeks knee-deep in learning, I thought that we'd relax this week with something more familiar, while also knocking another one off my to-do list. So before we get to knocking, maybe never say that again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you're new, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Today, we are working on something very familiar to the channel, a top-down action game. But trust me, we're doing a few fun things with this one. We start by randomly generating 3 to 5 clusters of walls to give our levels some variety. The player is then spawned with all the behaviors of a typical Dev Diary top-down action game, free movement and the ability to fire their weapon with left click. Now, what the player fires depends on their current level, because this is a project inspired by the OG of indie video games, Cave Story. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Cave Story, the combat system was pretty new for the time. Using a weapon would quote-unquote level it up, and it would improve/evolve with each level. However, weapons could also level down during combat, which would, of course, do the opposite. And so we're taking that basic idea and trying it out here, with the player's projectiles changing based on their current level. Level 0 is a basic projectile with no special properties. Level 1 has the ability for projectiles to ricochet off of walls. Level 2 is very similar to level 1, but with the addition of a slight homing effect, meaning projectiles will slowly move towards the nearest enemy to their position. And finally, we have level 3, which is its own beast. While slower, this bubble will explode either when it comes in contact with a wall or enemy, or its lifetime runs out. The explosion that follows will damage anything within the area of effect, including the player, making for a powerful yet dangerous and very volatile way to survive. The defeating enemies will award the player with experience points. That experience leads to an eventual level up, but getting hurt will both damage the player and level the player down one full level. This, along with spawn rates being tied to the player's current level, are meant to keep the gameplay frenetic, so that there is hopefully never a dull moment in the round. Tough but exciting, you know? Kinda like how making these videos is tough but exciting. And so if you enjoy them, supporting me on Patreon is the best way to help me keep making them. Not only can you get access to exclusive content and downloads, but early access to the weekly Dev Diary videos before they're released on YouTube. And thank you for listening to that bit. Here's a heart for your troubles. Also, that heart can be collected by the player to heal themselves for a point of health. And these hearts only drop from the rarer, larger variant of our roster of enemies. Speaking of which, for the first time ever, I tried to create an enemy AI with some actual thinking ability. First, there are two types of monsters. There is a diamond-shaped creature that'll fire projectiles, but for the most part, players will deal with the tiny and large variations of the circular monsters, who do contact damage. I wanted their movement to be more, organic. Using gamemaker's pathfinding was okay, but it ultimately felt stiff to use on its own. So instead, the enemy will hone in on the player's location as if walls don't exist. However, once they come within collision distance of a wall, this is where we turn on gamemaker's pathfinding code. This way, instead of enemies, just scraping their face along a wall or stopping entirely, enemies will try their best to navigate around walls, even if they're all complicated in their layouts. Now, I wouldn't doubt that this method is much more performance heavy, but I am enjoying the end results as far as this project goes. It's honestly kinda nice to have enemies that react to walls with a bit more sensibility. And that was the project. Again, very basic and straightforward, but I really wanted to keep things simple in order to try some new things out, like the enemy pathing. And much like I have been learning about visuals lately, this gives me a great starting point to hopefully building more fun and interesting enemies in the future. Well, we can hope at least. So what do you think? Good ideas, bad ideas? Do you have any stories of programming your own thinking AI? Have you played or even heard of Cave Story before? As always, I would love to hear from y'all, so leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments. With that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.